Agape love is patient. It is the kind of love that doesn't erupt when the mood sours or the day goes long. It doesn't lash out when someone is late or forgetful or inconvenient. Yet irritability is part of the human condition. It seeps into mornings when the coffee spills, when traffic stalls, when someone interrupts for the third time in a row. It slips into conversations when we feel dismissed, overlooked, or disrespected. But agape love is not reactive. It is steady. It does not take offense easily, and it does not demand perfection. To love with agape in the midst of irritability is to choose presence over reaction. It is to feel the rising heat behind the eyes and let it dissolve before it reaches the tongue. It is the pause between the impulse and the word. It is the breath taken instead of the door slammed. Agape love doesn't mean the irritation disappears. It means it gets transfigured. Irritability becomes a flag, a signal that something is strained. Tiredness, overstimulation, hunger, disappointment. And agape responds not with blame, but with care. Agape sees that the person in front of us is not the cause of our discomfort, but an invitation. The child who spills the juice again is not the enemy. The coworker who asks too many questions is not a burden. They are opportunities to offer mercy. They are mirrors, revealing the condition of our inner landscape. Agape love steps back and sees the full picture. It remembers that everyone has a story, a struggle, a shadow they carry unseen. And so it chooses gentleness. This love is not passive. It is not indulgent. It does not excuse harmful behavior or ask us to accept disrespect. Rather, it empowers us to respond with clarity and calm. To speak the truth in love, not in fury. It helps us set boundaries without bitterness, to say no without contempt, and to say yes with full intention. When irritability arises in ourselves, agape teaches us not to shame it, but to listen. What does this tension want us to know? Are we tired? Have we been holding too much? Do we need rest, food, solitude, prayer? Instead of shoving the irritability down, agape invites us to care for the conditions that gave rise to it. And in doing so, we become more whole, more available to love others without distortion. Agape also requires that we love others when they are irritable. When someone snaps at us, agape doesn't retaliate. It doesn't escalate. It sees pain behind the sharpness and confusion behind the sarcasm. It does not tolerate abuse or enable mistreatment, but it does not return fire for fire. It holds the storm with peace. It sees that behind every irritability is a soul in need of rest, of kindness, of oxygen. This kind of love is only possible through grace. It flows not from willpower alone, but from an interior openness to divine strength. Left to our own devices, we often fail. But agape is infused by the Spirit, nourished by prayer, shaped by habit, and grounded in humility. It knows that we too have snapped. We too have spoken harshly. We too have needed forgiveness. Agape is what mothers give when the toddler screams at 3 a.m. and what caretakers offer when the patient lashes out from confusion. It is the nurse's calm in a chaotic ER. It is the friend who stays kind when we are short and scattered. It is the spouse who rubs your back when you've been impossible all week. It is the quiet miracle of choosing mercy in the face of someone else's storm. But agape also turns inward. It teaches us to love ourselves when we are irritable, not to excuse cruelty, but to understand our own limits. It allows us to seek help, to rest, to heal. It helps us break the cycle of guilt and shame that follows after we've been snippy or impatient. It gives us the courage to say, "I'm sorry," and to mean it. It welcomes repair. It restores trust. In a world that glorifies hustle, noise, and constant productivity, irritability is almost inevitable. But agape carves out space. It slows us down. It invites us to move from urgency to presence, from reaction to reflection. It grounds us when the world wants to spin us out. Agape does not demand perfection. It simply asks that we show up again, that we try again, that we love when it's hard, that we forgive when it's fresh, that we remember who we are and whose we are. Even when the day has frayed our nerves, this is not a love of emotion, but of action. Not a love of romance, but of resolve. It is not glamorous, it is not loud, but it is deep, it is sturdy. It is the love of God alive in us. To love with agape while irritated is to hand over the sharpness and let it become a seed. It is to take the harsh moment and let it be composted into grace. It is to choose the higher road, not because we feel saintly, but because we want to love better. And every time we make that choice, even silently, the world shifts a little. A little more patience, a little more compassion, a little more peace. That is how agape wins. Not with fireworks, but with fidelity. Not with the absence of difficulty, but with the presence of love in the difficulty. And when that love becomes a habit, a lifestyle, a reflex, then even our irritability becomes sacred ground. Not because it is holy on its own, but because God can meet us there and transform it.